homework corrections. Go ahead, take those out and pass them on forward. Yeah, I'll sign it. Okay, any missing work or work from yesterday, go ahead and pass it on forward.
Video games. I play video games.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow is any other missing work? Parker, tomorrow. I'm not going to do what I did last week. Everyone has, did I get everyone's work? Everyone's assignment. Jason, are those that need to be returned to me?
Hey, Kenny, can you help me please? Sorry.
Did you already fix them?
So,
Yeah, well,
I would just go like 2 plus minus.
Okay.
But I didn't like that.
Can you put this in the third
And then when I do 2 plus minus.
2 answers.
Hey, second thing! I need everyone's eyes up here, please. Cell phones put away. So some announcements. First announcement. This is the last week to reassess your Chapter 4 Part 1 quest. Okay? I want to talk about times you can come in. You can come in tomorrow morning or Thursday morning, because Thursday is the last day. You can come in today at lunch, tomorrow at lunch, or Thursday at lunch. What I want to talk to you about is Thursday after school. I can't be here after school on Thursday because I have a doctor's appointment, but I will be here Wednesday after school if you would like to come in after school to make up that quest. So again, if you would like to improve your grade on the graphing of quadratics test that you took, this week is the last week. The reviews for reassessment are over by the pencil sharpener. You have to complete those in order to reassess. So you can reassess at lunch, in the morning, or Wednesday after school instead of Thursday. So anyone have questions about that? Okay. Second announcement, tomorrow is due day. So homework corrections, missing work, all have to be due tomorrow. Okay, so all missing work is due tomorrow. We will review tomorrow and take our quest on Thursday. Because it's winter break, you want to take your quest before winter break. Okay, so it is very important that you turn in all your missing work tomorrow. Right, Ethan? Missing work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Any questions on that? Okay, so to help you review, we're going to do 2 things. Well, actually, 3 things. We're going to review simplifying the quadratic formula. So I feel like that's something we need to work on, is how do we simplify it once we plug stuff in. Second thing, you guys are going to work in groups to help each other solve with factoring, quadratic formula, and isolating the variable. All this stuff you're going to be quested on Thursday. Okay, so that's the second thing we're going to do. So first, I want you, does everyone have this piece of paper that they got when they walked in? Okay, so let's do a few together and see how we did. For number 1, if you simplify the square root and you got 25 inside the square root, what is the square root of 25? 5. Awesome. Okay, now looking at your answer, do you have any square roots left or any imaginary numbers? No, so this one is special. What can you do to simplify this one?
Do 2 plus 5 minus 3 and 2 minus 5.
Yeah, you can break it into the 2 equations. So you can do 2 plus 5 divided by 3 and 2 minus 5 divided by 3. And the reason we can do that is because we don't have an I and we don't have a square root. They are like terms, so we can add and subtract them. What is 2 plus 5? The 7/3 reduced. No. What's 2 minus 5? 3. And what's negative 3 divided by 3? Beautiful. Awesome job, guys. Okay, so that is one of the ways ways you can simplify the quadratic formula, which I have up here on the board. You can use this during the review today, okay? Second one, now we have a square root of 8. Not a perfect square. What is the perfect square that goes into 8? 4, okay? What is the square root of 4? 2. Beautiful. Okay, so this time, are we able to add and subtract these? Are they like terms? No. So what's the next thing you have to do instead? Simplify, divide. Yeah, so we break it into 2 fractions. What is 2/4? And remember, you can simplify the outside numbers of the square root. So what's 2/4 there? 1/2 again. And that square root of 2 just hangs out next to it. So we have 1/2 plus or minus 1/2 square root 2. So again, the difference between these two were, this one were like terms. We had no square root, no imaginary numbers. So we could break into 2 equations and solve. Here, these are not like terms, so we just can reduce their fractions. Does anyone have questions on those 2 so far? Okay, let's try one more together. Okay, this time we have a -12. What's the perfect square into -12? 4, -4, okay. -4 times what? 3. And what is the square root of -4? 2i. Nice. Good job, you guys. So remember that negative means an I. Yes, Jeremy?
How come we say -1? Like, can you just make it 1?
Well, you can, but just make sure that if you make the 3 negative, you still take out the negative and make it an I. The 3 is still going to stay inside the square root, but the negative has to come out to become an I. So you can, just make sure the negative still comes out to be an I. Okay, so we can separate and reduce. What is 8 divided by 4? What is 2/4 I?
1.
And 1/2 I, and the square root of 3 is right next to it. So we have 2 plus or minus 1/2 I square root of 3. Anyone have questions so far? Those are some good questions. Okay, once you try 4 and 5 by yourself, when you finish, compare with a neighbor, because I'm going to call on someone out of my bucket. Okay? So that means all of you are eligible to be called upon. So after you're done, go ahead and compare with a neighbor, so that way you can know if he did it correctly. I will come around and help if you have questions.
One thing I did different on 4 was the square. I just have 3 plus or minus 2.
How'd you get that? Oh, that divides by 2. My bad.
Oh, that's actually
Yeah. So just make sure the side is not in the square root, because it's outside. Usually we put it in the front so it doesn't look like it's
But
in
what
the
about
square
this?
root. But yeah, that's it.
Number 4.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So we got 3 over
Does
2.
2 divide into 3? Does 3 divide into that? So you go on into the next one. That's it. Yeah.
So this one's all you do.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Make sure you're comparing with people.
You get the same thing.
Yeah, we have to put it over. So you're gonna have this reduced.
But shouldn't that be over 2 too?
Compare with the neighbor, you
No,
guys.
I think.
I did.
Wait.
Oh, did you? Oh.
Yeah.
It would be over 2?
Should I make sure this is right? So
Yes, that's beautiful.
over, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then look at your. Oh, you did it in your head. I see what you did.
Or no, 4.
No.
Let's find the factor of 13 so you put the I in front of the square root.
Wait, actually,
You just have to reduce. So that's gonna be 2.
You just
hold that.
Okay, guys, let's see how you did. Okay. So for number 4, okay, Mr. Jason, what did you do for number 4? There's like only one thing we could do. What was that?
I took the negative and then I changed it to I and I put it in front of the square root.
Nice. Okay, does square root of 13 reduce any further, class?
No.
No, does not have a perfect square inside of it. Does 3 divide by 2? Does I divide by 2? So can we simplify this any further? No. Okay.
Did you make it separate fractions?
You can write it as 3 over 2 plus or minus I over 2 squared 13. Both ways are acceptable. Yes. Good question. Let's try number 5. Hey Maya, what was the first thing you did for number 5, Pen?
Simplify the square root of 6.
What'd you get?
Which is 6i.
6i, beautiful.
And divide by 2. And then it's 2 plus or minus 3.
Okay. So if you didn't hear her, she divided by 2, and 4 divided by 2 she said was 2, and you said 6i divided by 2 is how much? 3i. Are these like terms? Can we add 2 plus 3i? Can we make 2 equations with that? No. So just a reminder, the one that you make 2 equations with is if they're both, real solutions, no square roots, no imaginary numbers. So we had a type where you had 2 separate solutions with 2 real solutions, and a type with just simplifying the square root, that was real. Type that simplifying square root with imaginary. One that didn't simplify, but we still had to bring up the imaginary number. And then one that did reduce a little bit with our imaginary number. Okay, so those are the type that you can see when you're doing the quadratic formula. Does anyone have questions on any of those 5 problems? Okay, so these are really good notes for you to review with, so you get to keep these. What I need for you to do now is everyone needs their own piece of paper, a pencil, and a calculator. Put everything else away because people are going to be up in each other's desks. So put everything else away except for a piece of paper, a pencil, and a calculator. If you need to borrow one, you can come up here and trade.
Thank you, Kenny.
No, no comprendo.
You don't understand why.
Porque mi muero.
Lo siento.
So what we're going to be trying today as a review, so that way you can have some individual and group practice, is called the graffiti wall. So if you notice, there are posters all the way around with problems that we have been solving. Over here we have factoring. So remember when you factor, after you factor you have to set each factor equal to 0 to solve for x. You have the quadratic formula. If you forget that, you can refer to the board up here for how to plug in for the quadratic formula. And over here we have isolating the variable. Okay? Let me tell you how this is going to work. So, everyone has their own piece of paper. You are expected to do your own work on your own piece of paper, even though you're in your squads. That is how you're going to get XP. Because you're going to turn these papers into me, and I'm going to look at your work to see if you solve the problems and not just your squad people. So make sure your name is on your paper. Go ahead and put that on there so that way you get credit for turning that in. So you're going to get in your squads. We're not going to move desks. When you get in your squads, you're going to pick a marker. That is your squad color, okay? So if my squad color was purple, the first poster we will go to is the one that's in purple, which is over there, okay? So over here is the purple poster, okay? There's a problem here. It says greatest common factor. So me and my squad, we would solve on our own piece of paper, factor that out. We'd agree on an answer, and then with the marker, you would just write the answer on the poster. Don't show all your work because we need to make sure there's room for everyone else on this poster as well. Your work is only on your notebook paper. So you'd write the answer up here with your marker, okay? And then there is a blue piece of paper around next to all the posters. Your squad can pick a problem for the next squad to solve. That is similar to the one that's up here. So you would pick, so let's say I picked number 7. I would write number 7, so that way I know which problem you picked. And, okay, so I have the answer key. And then you'd write the problem, and then you would go on to the next poster and solve that problem. So just to clarify, you're going to go to your colored marker poster. You're going to solve on your own piece of paper. Come to a consensus about an answer. Write your answer. Pick a problem for the next squad to solve. When you pick the problem, though, it's really important that you write the number, because that way I can find it on my answer key. So like I said, if I pick number 7, I'm going to write 7, and then the problem, and then me and my squad would go on to the next poster. Okay, so you're going to just rotate around in a circle. Now what will make this successful is if you're not goofing off and socializing. Because it's really annoying for like this squad over here who is patiently waiting for you to finish your problem. So make sure you're focused, make sure you're doing the math. I'm going to be watching because part of getting XP is following directions. So don't be goofing off so that way the next squad can come and do the problem as well. Okay, because if you spend a lot of time here, the line is going to back up and back up and back up, and they're going to get frustrated. Okay, if you have questions, help each other out. After you help each other out, if you still have questions, raise your hand and I'll come around and help you. Does anyone have questions about what you're doing today? Okay, so go ahead and get your squads. I'll come around and you can take a colored marker. What color do you want? Okay, so make sure you go to the light blue one, okay? Where's your spot?
Right here.
What color do you guys want?
What color?
Okay, so go to the green one right behind you. Guys, make sure you look at the directions. Some say factors, some say quadratic formula, some say isolate the variable. Okay, pick your color. Okay, so you guys are going to start at the pink problem. Okay, pick the color. Okay, we're going to start at the red one.
Why did you pick the red one?
Okay, nice. Okay,
Why?
pick your color.
Why did you pick the red one?
Okay, you guys are going to start at the purple one that opens up. Pick the color, honey. Orange is right behind you, okay? You solve that, so it's faster. You solve it. And then you take a problem off of the blue piece of paper. One solve. Does everyone have a color? Oh, you guys see. Okay. Blue or green? Okay, so that dark blue one is right over there. Okay, so that's where you're going to start.
Oh yeah, that was
So make sure you read the direction that's on your poster. If it says factor, says quadratic formula, make sure you do quadratic formula. If it says isolate the variable, isolate the variable. So yeah, you write the answer. Write the answer on there, and then pick a problem for the next squad to solve. And then you'll rotate over there. Now you have to say what x equals. You don't want those factored out. Yeah, so say what x equals.
Question? Ms. Anderson?
And then pick a problem. Yes, honey?
So we find the answer, right?
And now you're gonna write it on the board, board here. You're gonna write it on here. And then you're gonna pick a problem.
Yeah, I know. We let you know that this was our first one. Oh yeah,
It's because you're colored. So you're colored marker.
words on it?
No, you're okay. I know what color you are. So write your answer that you got. You should have 2 solutions, and then pick a problem from the blue. Yeah, you have to factor. You had to factor. That's not factor. That's basically the variable factor. Slide that out. Guys, see how it says factor? Factored slide method. Yes.
I need help because
Where are you at?
we got stuck right there and I wasn't sure if I did.
Oh, so remember you said each factor that has an x equals to 0. Does that factor have an x? So you're going to have 2 answers. Okay? And then, Molly, what you're going to do is you're going to put the answer right underneath and then take the problem. A little bit of a confidence. No, just the answer. And then pick a problem up there and we'll move on to the next one. Good job, Kayla. That's perfect. Okay, when you guys are done, write your answer. Okay, so when you guys are done, pick a problem, and I have like the next one. Yeah. Just right there. Okay, that's good. Good job, guys. That problem, we're missing something in our answer. And I learned to use
What's that?
It's actually better.
Oh, do you write the problem? Just hey, Madison or Megan, you need to write the problem on there too. Don't just write the number. Write the equation so you can see the equation, okay? Go ahead and do that real quick. So Nigel, pick a problem and write what number you guys pick. Hey guys. How are you doing?
Totally didn't forget about that or anything.
You're going to go here. So you guys need to put your answer up there and pick a problem quickly. So you guys are going to just wait a minute and you'll get this one right here, okay? Be bunch by the way so the next group can do the problem. Is that a negative x for you guys? So they know is that a negative?
We have to turn it in.
Okay, so I'll make sure it's ready.
Wait, did you get x?
Wait, it's right there.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. How are we doing? Did we figure it out? It's a negative 10. Okay, so go ahead and write those up there. Oh, good job, you guys. So you're going to go to the next problem. That one's the greatest common factor. Okay? Excuse me, Jeremy.
Oh, it's the 2 in the what?
X equals -9, X equals.
Yes, so we're just doing 2 times 1. Yeah, your factor, your basic factor. Make sure you solve for x. So like set it equal to 0 and solve for x.
No, I'm not.
Good job, Kayla. That's still looking great. Are you guys using quadratic formula for this problem? Okay, so make sure. Yeah, you're gonna go over there for the next one. Good job, you guys. You guys divide. Good job.
You were making it sound like I was like making it more
So
complicated.
guys, what did you guys factor out for your base common factor?
We gotta
Okay, and then what type of factor do you have to do inside? What is that called? What type of factor? Slide. Do the slide. Like the final.
Divide by 2.
Soy muy apropiado. No.
So we have to do the slide.
The slide I took my 10 times now factor that I have like yes, you're taking the 7 out. Do a little bit. Yeah, that's what you were
Miss Anderson,
Yes.
is your hub here?
Which one are you on? Okay, so it's this isolated variable.
What do you mean by seven?
What do you have to do when you square root? I know, but what are you forgetting after you square root? What do you have to have every time you square root? Yes. Yes.
Wait, are you guys still on?
That's right.
Did you get it, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
2x.
So assignment, you guys do the
And you're
Divided by 2.
Take up 3s and 2s. What kind of 2?
Oh yeah, it's quad there. So you have to add 5. Wait, what? Oh, you have to equal to 0?
And now divide by your A. So wait, it's 3 and 2.
Are you rid of 2x? Minus 3 plus 5. So we'd have to get rid of the parentheses. So do you distribute them? Yeah, you wouldn't distribute.
And then Ryan, pick a problem so the next question.
Yeah, you would.
Okay.
So, really?
Now you guys, this one's greatest common factors. You have to do that first.
So 2x, x squared, and then 6x.
What answer are you getting?
So then you get 2, negative 6, and 5.
Negative 3 has.
Negative.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, write that up there.
Write down y equals 1 and then
We have to write the number that we're doing?
Yeah, write the problem.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Well, that's the problem.
So Ryan, notice that this one says quadratic formula, so you're not factoring this one. You're doing the quadratic formula.
Got your calculator.
That's good. Good job, you guys.
4 over. Would you put it over?
4.
Put the whole thing over 4. And then what you just got what, like
6 over 4 plus minus.
or 3 seconds, 3 halves divided by 2. But you did it by 4.
No, I didn't say that.
I mean, yeah,
2
So
odd.
then go ask your group. Go tell them.
Yeah.
They'll help you.
Because it's that's the square root of 4 is 2, but it's negative, so it's 2 odd.
Oh, okay.
But then it's
Isn't it 3 halves plus or minus then 2 odd? Because you can.
So what do you do? How do you write it when you look at it?
So that simplifies it.
Two answers.
I think you can still
You could leave the 6 4 or you could.
and
Okay, I
then
think she wants to simplify.
Yeah, we should.
not the square.
So 3. Oh shoot, what is it? It's plus or minus 2 odd.
Factor out, you put in
Wouldn't it be 1 half?
and then divide what's left inside.
1 and the 2.
How do you want to have
Because the 2, I mean the well yeah, it'd be 1 half 5 because the 2 I divided by 4 maybe 2 I.
True. Alright, I just read it. Where'd you get the half line? Where's the 1 at?
Because it's
Okay,
6
so you
over
get
4
two
plus
real answers.
plus or minus 2
okay?
I over 4.
Get 2 real
Then
answers.
that the 2 and the 4 is 1 half.
Oh, yeah.
So wait, what is it now?
This 3 halves plus or minus 1 half I.
No, these are, you either have simplified fractions or whole numbers. But you should be able to add and subtract these two. These are, we separate into 2 equations.
So it's 7 4 negative 1.
I got a different 7. Well, I got 7.
44.
You should have, it should be 7 halves. Oh, you're forgetting this negative 5 right here. So 3 solve it, put a negative in front of your 5. Okay, so guys, let's talk about your problem. You factored out an x. Show me what you wrote. Show me what you wrote. No, factor out an x and you put it in parentheses. You have x parentheses.
5 minus 9 over 4.
X, write an X. Get rid of that one. I said X. And then we gotta get it like this. Parentheses equals 0. Now set each factor equal to 0. Set anything with an X equal to 0. Oh, I'm right there. This is a factor too. So that's what are you gonna get for your answer?
Subtract the 2. You have to add the 2, so that's x times x.
No. Okay, so you're not listening. Okay, I want you to listen to what I'm saying. Set each factor equal to 0. Set x equal to 0 and set x minus 2 equal to 0. Yeah, and set x equal to 0. So what? No, set x equal to 0. Or what are your 2 answers?
It's like 8 years old. I don't know what it is.
Yes.
It smells like that.
Make a problem so that the next group can start solving.
Like a gusher.
They already did? Okay.
We just have to go over the right away.
Okay. Gotcha. So Kenny, this one is a quadratic formula. So this isn't factoring anymore. This is quadratic. So you do something with the paper. Hey guys, we have 5 more minutes and then we're going to regroup at our desks. We have 5 more minutes.
Can you guys write an equation? Yeah, thanks. Where's the marker?
Jesus, I'm so confused.
I'm done. I'm calling it quits.
Yeah.
I'll my calculator.
What do you give me square root?
Now that I counted.
No, what else? What do you give me square root?
All I have to say.
Especially when we have to put it Now let's go to imaginary. Yeah.
3x plus 1.
Equals plus minus 6, and then do 2 equations. Okay. You needed 14, Belly?
Hold on, let me check.
Okay. Let me know.
Oh, I hate this thing.
You have it in your bag. Check in your bag. It was a whole sheet. The worksheet portion was a whole sheet. You just turned in the whole sheet once? Okay, let me go check.
Oh, I have today, so I can't go to work. They're like, oh, we scheduled you to work today. And I'm like, well, no.
Bryce, is your group done?
Yes.
Okay, her group is still working, so you need to go somewhere else so she can.
Wait, don't we need to do Oh, wait, you sure? No, those are two.
Kenny, skip one.
Okay, Kelly, you're missing 13 and 14 and 16.
14 right here.
Okay, so you're missing 13, 14, and 16. Okay, yeah. Those are the No, keep your paper. When you're done, just sit at your desk and keep your paper. Cause I'm going to do one more thing before you leave. Okay?
So you move the 36 squaring it, and then it's x squared equals negative 36, and then you have to get rid of the square. So you square root it, and you get x.
Oh God, clear.
This is your
No, it's 50. I got 3. I know, but it is 53. I don't know what mine went.
Right, and then 53 can't simplify, right?
Can't simplify.
No, so.
Are you guys writing that?
Wait, is it negative?
Yeah.
No, positive.
Can't simplify, the only thing you
Okay,
can do.
why don't you guys finish the
So that's
problem
good.
you're on? So we have 5 minutes left, and I want to do one more thing with you. So finish the problem you're on, and then go back to your desk. Go back to your desk with your piece of paper, okay? Take your paper with you.
Wait, even if we're not done, go back.
Okay, so when you finish your problem, give me your marker and go back to your desk. Because I did the same with you.
No.
When you finish your problem, go back to your desk, give me your marker. Awesome, thank you. Okay, who has the light blue marker? Awesome. Okay, have a seat at your desk. We're going to do one more thing. Okay, so everyone, if I get your attention up here, please. Okay, so on your piece of paper, you solved a variety of problems. You solved factoring, quadratic formula, and you solved by isolating the variable. Those are the concepts that we're going to be tested on Thursday, and that we will review together as a class tomorrow one more time. So what I want you to do is on your piece of paper, I want you to think about something you feel like you might need more help on or need to study more. I don't want you to say all of them because that's not true. It's not all of them. I don't want you to say none. I want you to pick one thing to reflect about and write on your paper what you feel like you need to study more or need more help on or need to review more. So one option is basic factoring. So think, am I good there? Not good. Slide method. Greatest common factor factoring. The difference of perfect squares factoring. How about the quadratic formula? Now, if it's not just the quadratic formula, maybe it's just I need to practice reducing square roots. Maybe you understand the quadratic formula, but you just need more help or reducing square roots. Solving by isolating the variable. Or knowing the difference between when my solution's real versus imaginary. So those are some of the concepts we've been practicing. So pick one of those that you feel like you need a little bit more help or you need to study a little bit more. Write it on your paper. While you're writing, just another reminder, tomorrow is due day, okay? Homework corrections, missing work must be turned in tomorrow. No exceptions. And when you have that done, go ahead and